For more on the constitutional amendment discussions, lawyer Monday Ubani joins us now. Mr. Ubani, thanks for joining us. I'd like to start with a fairly simple question. We're seeing a lot of different discussions about reforming the constitution, producing a new constitution. Is there a legal basis for these discussions, or are we just spending a lot of time talking without a clear legal pathway forward?
Well, I think the Constitution itself made a provision under Section 9 that it can be amended. And this is not the first time we have undergo this particular process we're undergoing now. We have done the first amendment, we have done the second alteration, even up to the fourth alteration. Yes, I think up to fourth or third alteration of this particular Constitution in a piecemeal manner. But this is the second time we are doing a whole piece amendment. If you remember that under President Jonathan's government, there was a whole arrangement that was made to amend the Constitution, and a lot of suggestions were made. And when that particular bill was presented to the then, he refused to assent to it and then vetoed it. And then when they wanted to override his veto, he rushed to the Supreme Court that made a stay order that they should maintain the order of status quo. And that was why this issue of amendment is starting a new process again, because we have done so much amendment in that time. So there is a constitutional basis for it. But what people are arguing is that with the set of crop of politicians that we have, the political elites, we may not get the desired wholesome amendment of this Constitution that will be in the interest of the people. There are a lot of things that is fundamentally wrong with the 1999 Constitution that we need to tinker with. And the political elites have always been a hindrance. So a wholesome amendment, like this issue of removing Senate, running a unicameral system of legislature, they will not want that particular chamber to be scrapped because they are benefiting from it. So there are other issues that people will want a wholesome amendment, but the political class that are clearly in charge of the running of affairs of the country may not actually agree to it, and that's why people are not having so much faith with the process that is ongoing.
Okay, that's a good place to start. But I want to ask Monday, there seems to be this focus, almost obsessive focus on the Constitution as though the prosperity of our nation rises and falls on it. How extensively can the Constitution bring the reform we so desire? For example, I hear people tabling the desire to have the minimum age for marriage being 18. So how much detail is being gone into that really is required at this stage? Barrister Monday, can you hear me?
Yes, I was not hearing the last December, but I understand the way you started by saying how wholesome will this amendment affect the polity generally, positively. I tell you this, for you to run a country, there are two fundamental things that you need. One is the system itself. Then the second is the people that run the system. The moment you have a wrong system, a flawed system, you will have a problem. The second issue is that if you have the wrong people operating the system, you also have a problem. So we have two issues we have identified as the issues that are retarding our progress as a nation. We are a heterogeneous country. We're a country of many nationalities. So one would expect that the proper system that can run this country effectively and then, even positively and efficiently too, is the federal system of government. But from 1966 till date, we have been running a unitary system of government over centralized bureaucracy that have not allowed much progress to be made. And we have identified that we need to tinker with the structure. We need to actually devolve power because the federating unit need to have most of the things that are concentrated at the federal level. Let them run it at the state federating level so that we can leave the behemoth, the bigger picture, of running Nigeria and, to the federal government with little responsibility. But most of the responsibility should be done by the federating unit. So we have identified that. Then we also have to identify that our electoral recruitment process of those that will run the system is key. And that's why we are talking about even amending the Electoral Act. Our recruitment process is key. If we get these two things right, the system, the people that runs the system, then I can tell you that Nigeria will be flying and not crawling. Presently, we are crawling because one, our recruitment process is faulty. Then secondly, our system we're operating is also very faulty. And then we cannot make progress as a nation with such faulty systems here and there.
And that brings me to my question, because it seems as though the challenges of a new, widely acceptably people's constitution is just as diverse as the promises, the vibrant promises a lot of people are expectant of. But I need to ask you, yes, have you seen enough effort by those who are to uphold and implement the spirit and the letter of the extant constitution? Isn't it just going to be, you know, a cycle? We have a new constitution, we don't have people upholding the spirit and the letters of it, and then we are back to calling for a new constitution. Isn't that the real challenge here?
Well, I think that the best thing is for us to, a journey of many miles starts with a step. Let's take this fundamental step of actually getting a proper system to run a heterogeneous country like ours. We are over-laboring the federal system. The over-centralization of our bureaucracy has accounted for much retardation in the system. So let's try now, as a nation, to look at that direction, first and foremost. Then, as I said earlier, the issue of people, also the personnel, that we implement the spirit and letter of that constitution is also very important. And that's why our recruitment process, we must also tinker with it to get the kind of people that we need to run Nigeria. It's not that we're short of them. There are many men and women that can run this nation effectively. They understand what is up, you know, with the times. But we are bringing the wrong set of human beings to run Nigeria. And when you bring those wrong set of human beings due to our faulty electoral system, then there is no way you can make much progress. So my advice is that let us not sit down and begin to argue, oh, even if you make the new constitution, we may not be able to get it right and all that. Let's start with the first thing first. Let's get the system that is proper in place. Let's run a proper federal system of government, because I could remember that in 1963, the 1963 Constitution, the Republican Constitution from 63 to 66, was nearly a perfect constitution that made Nigeria to be one of the fastest growing economy in the country. And we had in the world, that other countries were envious of Nigerian stand and progress. But we now run into this unitary system of government that has not taken us anywhere. So my advice, let's get the system right first and foremost. Let's now get the correct people that will run the system. And as I said earlier, with the combination of these two factors, we will begin to make progress. The devolution of power is critical. Nigeria today is clearly run in a manner that is inefficient. Its over-centralization of bureaucracy cannot take us anywhere. How can you be, dealing with the required energy need of a state? How do you know my energy need as a Lagos state government or Abia state government? Why can't the state determine the energy need, determine how to transmit it, and determine how to distribute it? Why must it be done by the federal? The issue of security, why must the federal determine who becomes the commissioner, in the state, and then takes directive from the IG in Abuja? Whereas this is my own environment, I should be able to take absolute control of. So these are some of the issues we are saying. Let's tinker with those issues and see whether we get the right set of people that can also run the system, and we begin to fly instead of crawling. We are crawling presently.
Well, I think that's a great place to leave it there. Lots of questions, and hopefully we'll see some answers in these discussions. Lawyer Monday Ubani, thank you very much for joining us.